Coming up on First at 4, it's been 4 months now since the devastating flood here in eastern Kentucky. Plus, tensions ramp up off the soccer pitch ahead of tomorrow's big matchup between the United States and Iran at the World Cup.
And rain chances continue as we close out November. I have that full first alert forecast coming up as Mountain News First at 4 starts right now.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, it's been 4 months since the historic flood destroyed thousands of homes and businesses in eastern Kentucky. The cleanup process continues in areas across the region as debris can still be seen hanging from trees. Breathitt County native Drew Lee Jones says he's afraid many people in the Lost Creek area are leaving for good.
I know of a lot of people that will never be back on 476. They've packed it up and left. We've lost a lot of people in our community, so.
Jones says some people along Highway 476 are not able to rebuild because they don't have the money to do it, forcing them to leave. We'll have more on the 4-month anniversary from Breathitt and Knott counties coming up tonight at 6.
Well, the weather is dry as we start the new work week, but a few changes are right around the corner. Let's go over to I-75 in Rockcastle County. Over at Mount Vernon, all is quiet at this location, but it is gloomy under that cloudy sky and temperatures struggling to make it into the 50s for many people. 48 in Jackson, 48 also in Irvin, 45 in Pikeville. We are in the lower 50s for Manchester, London, and Somerset. Up on satellite and radar, most of us are quiet, but under a cloudy sky. But some changes are right around the corner. By midweek, more showers are likely. But if you have any plans this evening, all is quiet across the region. We stay dry under a partly cloudy sky. It will be chilly as you wake up on Tuesday. Temperatures in the upper 30s and a warm up on Tuesday. And then we are back in the 30s once again by Thursday. That full first alert forecast coming up in just a little bit. Steve.
All right. Thank you very much, Cameron. At the World Cup in Qatar, Team USA faces a must-win game that has turned even more political. The U.S. will play Iran tomorrow. The last time they played each other in a World Cup was in 1998, and Iran won. This time, the U.S. must win to get into the knockout stage. The matchup has already stirred up controversy after online posts that Iran's government calls an insult. CBS's Roxana Saberi is in Qatar with more.
We've seen a bit of pregame drama here in Doha. This weekend, the U.S. Soccer Federation briefly posted social media images of Iran's flag without the emblem of the Islamic Republic of Iran at its center. The emblem is the word Allah or God in stylized script added to Iran's flag after the 1979 Islamic Revolution. For around 24 hours, the U.S. men's team displayed posts and a Twitter banner of the squad's matches with the Iranian flag bearing only its green, white, and red stripes. Then last night, those images were removed and the emblem is back on the flag. A spokesperson for the U.S. Soccer Federation explained the modified flag was meant to show support for women's rights as protests shake Iran. But the posts were, quote, meant to be a moment. And another Federation official told me the decision to return to Iran's official flag was made after additional conversations without elaborating. Iran's state media say the country's soccer federation has asked FIFA to issue a serious warning to the U.S. Soccer Federation. 2 U.S. players told a news conference here last night they had not been aware of the flag alteration, but added they empathize with women protesting in Iran. The U.S. takes on Iran here tomorrow. It's an all-or-nothing showdown, with the U.S. needing a win to move forward to the next round. Roxana Saberi, CBS News, Doha.
If the U.S. men's national team does not win against Iran tomorrow, it will be the first time since 2006 that they failed to make it out of the group stage. Of course, the United States did not qualify for the 2018 World Cup in Russia. A former American NASA astronaut was in Ukraine visiting the country's large pediatric hospital. Scott Kelly, who is also an ambassador for Ukraine's United 24 fundraising platform, made a visit to Irpin, Ukraine, where heavy shelling left the city in ruins earlier this year. Kelly also visited Kyiv's Children's Hospital, where he met with young patients. During his visit to the hospital, Kelly gave out NASA badges, which he brought from his annual trip to the International Space Station, and in turn, the children also gave him a gift, a drawing of Kelly in space. United 24 says Scott was touched by the gesture so much that he took the drawing home to hang on his wall. China's government faced some of the largest public protests in decades over the weekend. Demonstrators in the capital, Beijing, and other cities called on the country's president to resign over strict COVID-19 lockdown policies that have failed to stop the virus from spreading. CBS's Elizabeth Palmer has more on the angry protests that have also spread online.
A man shouts what until now few would even have dared say aloud. Xi Jinping! Down with Xi Jinping! Xi Jinping! Down with the Communist Party. There were public protests across the country over the weekend in at least 10 cities, including Shanghai. We reached one of the protesters there on Sunday night.
How angry are people with the lockdown?
Very, because they're very angry. Oh my God. Oh my God.
We agreed to hide her identity as this interview could get her arrested. Over the weekend, an unknown number of protesters was arrested, including the BBC's cameraman, though he was later released. The protests are by far the biggest challenge yet to Xi Jinping's zero COVID policy, which has battered the economy and locked down hundreds of millions of people.
What do your friends say about the Chinese government's management of COVID?
People do not support it at all.
The anger was actually sparked by a tragedy thousands of miles away in Xinjiang, western China. 10 people burned to death in an apartment fire last week. A furious crowd gathered round the government offices, convinced that COVID restrictions had stopped the fire engines from reaching the blaze. Authorities denied that, but the story was a tipping point. People gathered at vigils in sympathy with the victims, and some held up blank pieces of paper to symbolize the way critical voices in China are silenced. By Sunday night, this largely peaceful but utterly unprecedented dissent had spread even to the capital, Beijing. Now everyone is wondering how the government will react. But Xi Jinping's commitment to mass testing, lockdowns, and vast warehouses for isolating COVID contacts is core policy. And the sight of citizens chanting, "Lift lockdowns," isn't likely to change his mind. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News, Tokyo.
Coming up on First at 4, with the Thanksgiving holiday over, travelers across the country are facing weather issues.
And we could see a few weather issues of our own by the middle of the work week. Those details on the way right after this.